Hey guys, playing with a little light and shadow here, but this is Zen Burrow, and I'm here with a verdict video about Clive Barker's original film, Hellraiser, from 1987. And it's still a horror movie I really like. It has blood and gore, some creepy horror villains called the Cenobites, which everyone kind of knows, and a creepy, depraved uncle who is probably the worst uncle that you will probably ever meet. His name's Frank, he's a pleasure seeker, and at the beginning of the film he finds this puzzle box which supposedly allows one to experience the furthest reaches of pleasure and pain. And if that's not the most sadomasochistic introduction, I don't know what is. But he opens the box, or rather he solves the box so that it opens, and then a bunch of chains come and tear him apart, and it's all bad and gory. And then, so yeah, we assume he's dead, and then Frank's uh, brother, who has a wife and a daughter, they move into the house where Frank opened the box. Unbeknownst to them, Frank has left the box, and when the wife shows up and accidentally cuts herself, the blood resurrects the pleasure seeker, and you find out that she and Frank actually had an affair. And now Frank, this mess of bone and flesh, which I have to admit, it was pretty nasty watching it, but you can see the care and detail they did to make this person appear as gruesome as possible on the outside to reflect his inner, I guess, depravity. And so the wife not being consumed by feelings for Frank and her quote unquote devotion to her family, which is not her real family anyway, she decides to murder people, or rather, not murder, but bring people to Frank in the attic so he can kill them and not drink their blood, but more like absorb it, like some type of vampire, so he gains flesh. And eventually you see the corruption of his accomplice and how she adopts this more depraved takeaway attitude that Frank is, if that makes sense. Now the daughter, Kirsty Cotton, she gets involved and eventually discovers the puzzle box and meets the Cenobites, these creatures from hell that are the cold arbiters of pleasure and pain, and they're kind of like classical Faustian demons where you make a deal with them and then you're supposed to abide by that contract, and kind of if you don't fulfill that, then they get pissed off. What Kirsty does is she tells them that Frank is still alive, and of course they get angry, and so Kirsty has to figure out how to bring the box and destroy Frank once and for all. So, like I said, it's probably not the best horror movie I ever saw, but it has lingered in the collective consciousness, horror consciousness for a while, along with Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, Poltergeist. So it's safe to say that it's a classic horror film. Pinhead, while he doesn't really have a direct role in this film, in later films they develop him more and you find out more about his backstory. But in this one, he's more of like a plot device more than anything. However, the way they dress him up and like he has all the pins, it's all really cool looking, and I mean, this was based on Clive Barker's short story. So, are the characters interesting? They fulfill their role. They are alright, but like Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th, they're just fodder to like get the plot moving and kind of show like these different aspects of human nature. However, I still recommend Hellraiser, especially if you've never seen it before. Uh, right now, it's even playing on Shudder.com if you have that or know of it. And yeah, I would say watch this movie if you're getting into horror films or you want to expand your horror film knowledge, because I know horror films are going to be around for a long time. And I know films like the remake of It Part 2 is out, so I've kind of been on a horror film rut kick. So yeah, check out Hellraiser from Clive Barker. I would recommend it, and I'll see you guys next time at the movies.